She walked into court believing her status would protect her. She wasn't nervous, not afraid, almost comfortable. She smiled. She rolled her eyes, and at one point she even laughed quietly under her breath. But what she didn't realize was that the judge had already reviewed her file. Every missed appointment, every ignored order, every single warning she thought didn't matter. This case didn't begin today. Like most courtroom stories, it started months earlier with a sentence that was meant to give the defendant a second chance. Instead of jail time, the court offered probation, a structured alternative with clear rules and clear expectations. Regular check-ins, compliance with court-ordered conditions, and most importantly, respect for the process. You see, probation isn't freedom, it's trust. A fragile contract between the defendant and the court. And trust, once it's broken, is extremely difficult to repair inside a courtroom. The defendant was charged with violating the terms of her probation after failing to comply with multiple court-ordered conditions. The violations were stacked against her. Missed appointments, incomplete requirements, and a series of repeated warnings that went completely unanswered. On paper, the issue looked simple, black and white. But human behavior often tells a much deeper, more complex story than any document ever could. From the moment she entered the courtroom, her demeanor stood out. It was a study in casual indifference. As the hearing began, the defendant shifted in her seat. She let out a loud, theatrical sigh when her name was called. She even whispered to her attorney while the judge was speaking. To most people in the gallery, these might seem like small, insignificant things. A nervous tick, maybe? But in a courtroom, nothing is small. Every gesture, every glance is observed. Judges are trained observers. They don't just hear the words, they see the entire picture. They notice posture, they analyze tone, they register timing. In this environment, respect isn't requested, it's expected. And today, from this defendant, it appeared to be entirely missing. When the prosecutor stood up to outline the violations, the defendant reacted immediately. She shook her head in disagreement. She smirked, as if the whole proceeding was beneath her. At one point, she raised her eyebrows in a display of dramatic disbelief. But here is something many people didn't realize. The prosecutor isn't there to argue emotion. They're there to present facts, cold, hard facts. And the facts in this case were already documented, logged, and filed. Missed deadlines, ignored conditions, multiple chances that had been squandered. This wasn't a surprise hearing designed to ambush her. It was a consequence hearing, the inevitable result of her own actions. The defense attorney, sensing the tide turning against them, attempted to regain control. He leaned in close to his client. He whispered urgently. He tried to steady the rapidly sinking ship. His argument was a familiar one, an argument heard in courtrooms every day. There were circumstances. There was miscommunication. There was stress. But mitigation, offering excuses or context, only works when it's paired with accountability. And accountability was the one thing the court was looking for but couldn't seem to find. Throughout this entire exchange, the judge said very little, and that silence mattered more than any words could. Experienced judges don't interrupt. They don't get into shouting matches. They listen. They evaluate. They wait. They absorb every detail, every piece of testimony, every subtle non-verbal cue. By the time the judge finally began speaking, the decision had already formed in their mind. Piece by piece, observation by observation. As the judge addressed the defendant directly, something in the room changed. The air grew still. The tone wasn't harsh. It wasn't emotional or angry. It was firm, resolute. The judge explained in calm and measured words that probation is not optional, that compliance is not negotiable, and that repeated, willful disregard for court orders sends a very clear and unmistakable message. This was the moment her posture finally changed. Her shoulders, which had been held high with defiance, suddenly dropped. Her confident smirk faded, replaced by a dawning look of apprehension. Reality had arrived late, but certain. The sentence was delivered calmly. Clearly, there would be no special treatment. There would be no exceptions made. The judge emphasized the principle of fairness, not punishment, for its own sake. They spoke of consistency, not letting emotion dictate the outcome. Probation had been the opportunity, the second chance. This was the outcome of how that opportunity was handled. For the defendant, everything changed in that single instant. The world she had built, where she believed rules didn't apply to her, crumbled. Courtrooms don't reward entitlement. They don't applaud arrogance. They reward responsibility. This case serves as a powerful reminder that second chances almost always come with conditions. And ignoring those conditions doesn't delay the consequences, it guarantees them. Justice isn't always loud or dramatic. More often, it's deliberate, it's patient, and it's methodical. So let me ask you, was this justice? Or was the sentence too harsh? Share your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to subscribe to Verdict for the next case. Thanks for watching.